EastEnders George faces worst nightmare as Kojo arrested following shock drug twist. Spoilers for next week's EastEnders reveal trouble for Kojo, as his brother George finds him in a bad state after taking drugs, only for him to later be arrested by Jack Branning. Spoilers reveal a terrifying week in EastEnders for Kojo next week, as his birthday goes terribly wrong after his day out with his brother George is ruined. As George gets sidetracked by new love interest Nicola, Kojo heads home where he finds Oki, and his acquaintances have taken over his place. Recently, viewers have seen Ravi and Oki telling Harry they need to use Kojo's flat for their drug dealings, which Harry was firmly set against. However, it seems Oki and his acquaintances have managed to gain their way into the flat. As a panicked Kojo finds them, Oki gives him a pill to calm him down, and George is left terrified when he finds his brother in a terrible state after taking drugs. Speaking on the terrifying moment, Colin Salmon, who plays George, said, "He goes into an absolute panic. It's George's worst nightmare, and he immediately assumes that Harry is to blame for this. He knows that Kojo wouldn't take drugs, and so he assumes that he's been spiked or been tricked into it. Kojo hates drugs and George knows that, so he immediately points the finger at Harry. A panicked George later takes Kojo to Phil's place. But things go from bad to worse when D.I. Jack Branning arrives and discovers Kojo took drugs. George is later left shaken when Jack reveals he needs to arrest Kojo. George is left raging and blames Harry for the ordeal. It later leads to a confrontation which involves his new partner Nicola and his daughter Gina, who we recently saw go on a date with Harry, on why George assumes it's Harry's fault. Actor Colin said, "George has met a lot of lads like Harry during the years he's run bars, and he can see that he could be involved in drugs. It doesn't mean George is judgmental of Harry, because Gina has had addiction problems, but he can see Harry isn't being truthful. George knows when someone is lying to him. What's really sad is that he doesn't realize that Harry is trying to protect Kojo." The storyline comes after Elaine was violently knocked to the ground in tonight's episode. As a group of threatening lads took over the arches in the Vic, George expressed his concern for Kojo after he revealed his new friend Oki had bought him a watch. Not wanting to interfere, Elaine said she would go and check out the situation for George. However, she was left pushed to the ground. How far will the storyline go, and will Kojo end up in even more trouble?